video is on changing front brake pads. For tools, you're going to need a 12, a 14 millimeter socket, a 5 millimeter Allen wrench for the brake pad pins, and a flathead screwdriver, and if you have one, a 3-inch C-clamp. If you don't have the C-clamp, don't worry about it, you can get by without it, and I'll show you guys how. Okay, after the wheel is off, reach back here and pop your brake line out of the little retainer clips. Then you can come around to the front, turn the wheel to the right to give yourself some more room. If you have an impact, then you can take these out after you have the caliper off. If you're using hand tools like a ratchet, go ahead and take these loose. They're a 5 millimeter, and that's what holds the actual brake pads in. Then you can remove the caliper with a 12 millimeter. There's the only two screws back here, or bolts back here, with a 12 millimeter head, so you won't take the wrong ones off. Okay, now as far as compressing the piston, you're going to have to compress it to get the new pads in over the brake rotor, because what happens is over time, of course, the pads wear, so the piston travels out and squeezes against the rotor. So you're going to have to compress that piston. There's more than two ways to do it. The easiest way is to use a flathead screwdriver before you even take the caliper off. You don't have to use a C-clamp or anything like that afterwards. I'll show you guys how to do that. So we're looking down from the right above the top of the caliper, and this right here, that's the rear brake pad. And see, my pads aren't really bad at all. They're really in good shape. I'm just kind of doing this to show you guys how it's done. All you need to do is take the flathead, reach right here, and you're going to push that piston in. See it go in? That's it. It's all the way in. That's it. There's nothing to it. Okay, so now that you have that done, the caliper is ready to come off. And if you've never done it before, the caliper ain't going to just pull off. It's kind of a pain in the butt if you've never done it before. Once you get the hang of it, it's literally nothing to it. What happens is, you can see down on the bottom how this ear is hitting on that rock guard. What you're going to want to do is pull out on the bottom of the caliper and roll it forward like this, like that, and then just take your thumb at the same time, pull that rock guard forward, and boom, just like that. Okay, so you have that off, then your pins are already loose, so remove those. Turn your caliper over, and you have your brake pads. And see, mine are like new, so they're good to go. And these are probably OEM. Yeah, they're OEM. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put these back on now. So if you didn't compress your piston before, it's no big deal. You can use a C-clamp like this here. This is a 3-inch. You can get them Harbor Freight for, like, I don't know, $2 or something. And you can compress it this way. If you have a real small one and you don't have enough reach right here, what you can do is just take an old brake pad, take your old one, stick it in like that, and press it in. But as far as pushing it in, you can just reach right in like this. And of course, mine's pressed in already. But you're going to tighten against the back of the caliper here, and you actually try with a little bit. Push it right in. That's it. All right, let's put this thing back together. Okay, putting it back together, there's a spring down here in the bottom, and if it falls out on you like that, it's no big deal. See these ears on it? Those ears face up. Just take it and set it right back in there. Just like that. When you put your first brake pad in, it may be kind of tough to get your pins lined up, because you're going to have to push against that spring there to get your holes on the pad to line up with the holes in the caliper. So put your brake pad in, and the fibers need to face, the fiber needs to face you. So then you're going to have to push down against that spring there, see, until you get a pin lined up. And you can peek through here if you have better light. I have horrible light in my shop right now. The sun is setting through the bay door. So you're going to put your pin into the rear and push down on it. There we go, we got one started. Take your other pin, put it in, peek through that hole right there in the front, get it lined up. I have that one started. Okay, then you're going to put your other brake pad in, and the fibers are going to face each other. That's how you know they're right. So you're going to set this one right in place. Yeah, you guys can see. Okay, Push one pin through, push the other pin through, and then that's it. So if you're using an impact, you can tighten these up right now. Go ahead and widen the shot up a little bit, it's all the way wide. You go ahead and tighten these up right now. Take your 5mm, tighten them up. If you got a ratchet, you can go ahead and run them in there, hand tight. Give me a second, guys. Alright, sorry guys, I had a phone call and now I forgot where I left off. Crap. Okay, I think I was talking about these. If you got an impact, go ahead and tighten these up. If you got using hand tools, you can go ahead and run them in. I would advise leaving them out a little bit so that you can tell they're not in. And I'll remind you at the end of the video here. So, okay, we're ready to put it back on. To put it back on is the same deal. It's just the opposite of taking it off. It can be a little tough to get back in. I'm gonna try to get you guys the best shot here. Okay, when you get ready to put it back on, your bleeder goes up, and spread your pads and be sure that you get the rotor between the pads. Start that first, and then this ear back here, this ear here needs to be behind this black ear on the spindle. Get that going first. So you're going to do the same thing. You're going to twist it forward and push it back, and then the only thing stopping you is going to be that stupid rock guard again down there at the bottom. If you don't have rock guards, you're done already. Just take and push it forward like that, and it's on. So now we're just going to stab your bolts back in. You can put Loctite on these if you want. I really haven't had trouble with them coming loose. Start the top one first because you can see where the ear is. Once you have that top one started, the bottom one doesn't have any joints to go right in. Just give the caliper a wiggle and twist that screw, and it'll go right in. And then go ahead and take and tighten your caliper up. That's the 12. Okay, and then don't forget about these two 5mm Allens right here. If you didn't tighten them up now. I'm gonna double check. Yep. One thing I didn't mention, when you're going to push your piston in, if it doesn't want to go in, pop this little cap off, open this bleeder up, and then that'll allow the fluid to escape. Because if your master up on the handlebars is full and your caliper is obviously full because you can't have any air in your brakes, then your fluid doesn't have anywhere to go when you're pushing on that piston. So loosen that bleeder up, push that piston in slowly because it's going to squirt out, and don't be above it. And then once you get it pushed all the way in, tighten that bleeder back up, put your cap on it, and then go about your business. Okay, so you have it all back on, ready to go. This is done. Now what you want to do is go ahead and check your brake fluid. Of course, after you do your other caliper. I'm only going to do one because it's the same exact procedure. There's no sense doing two calipers. So now we're going to check our brake fluid. Take a look at our brake fluid, and our brake fluid is completely full. So at this point, if you've done both calipers already and your brake fluid is all the way full to the top, you're good to go. Then what you want to do is just take and pull your lever a few times slowly and release it, and just keep doing that until you get a good feel. What's going to happen is that piston has to travel out on both sides. Now we're good to go. So now I got a good firm lever, the brakes are holding tight. We're good to go. So that's it, fellers. That's how you do brake pads on the front. It really doesn't take long at all. Once you've done it a couple times, I don't know, it's probably about a 5 or 10 minute job. I would think 10 minutes tops. But if you only have one Banshee, one bike, you won't have to do them very often unless you're riding a lot of mud, because I've honestly never had to replace any pads. Maybe on some that I've gotten, the pads are really, really low on and I've replaced them. But I mean, even the bikes I've owned for years, I've never done brake pads on them. But I don't ride in mud either, and mud's going to be what wears them the most, the quickest. So anyway, that's it, guys. Have a good day. Happy riding. God bless. Until next time.